Coming up in this episode of the Endpoint Zone, we have some fantastic announcements that we can't quite tell you about just yet with our fantastic partners at Citrix.
Yep, Calvin and I have been working with our teams on some of the new things that we've been working on, getting a status update of that, and kind of charting what the next couple of years looks like.
So stay tuned and hear those new announcements and an updates on recent things that we've been working on together.
Hey, welcome to the Endpoint Zone with Brad Anderson. This is episode 1808.2.
That's a new one.
Yeah, we've got a couple of episodes this month because there's so much stuff going on. And this is kind of a special episode because we've got Calvin from Citrix here with us.
Awesome. Great to be here with you guys. Thanks for having me.
You know, Calvin and I and the team's been together today talking about some of the things we want to do together, understanding the feedback and the direction that we're hearing from our customers. And so we thought, hey, let's just grab Simon, walk over to the studio, record an Endpoint Zone, talk about some of the great things that we're doing and how it fits into the modern workplace, Microsoft 365, and talk a little bit about what's coming.
Yeah, there is some pretty cool stuff here. I mean, just gone through a whole load of this content so that we could work out what we're going to tell you guys. It's pretty awesome. We've got some announcements around the Microsoft Security Graph. We've got some announcements about some new integrations with our App SDK. And we've also got some announcements around what's happening with Citrix in the cloud.
Yeah. So maybe just to start with a quick overview of Microsoft 365. So we can just pop the screen up here on mine. So let's talk a little bit about Microsoft 365. This is our solution that enables organizations to empower and deliver that modern culture of work, that modern workplace. And it's made up of Windows, Office 365, and EMS. And remember, when we say Enterprise Mobility and Security EMS, that's inclusive of the on-prem products such as SCCM or Config Manager. So Config Manager is a part of Microsoft 365 as well. As we think about Microsoft 365, the promises that we deliver on this is we believe that we've built it in a way that it fully unlocks creativity for users. It enables them to work in teams, so it really is built for teamwork. It's simple to manage because we have all this integration that just dramatically simplifies management for the IT pros. And then we have all this intelligent built-in security. And so as organizations are deploying Microsoft 365, it's all about empowering and enabling users to be creative and work in teams and do that in a way that is simple to manage and simple to secure.
Yeah, and Brad, I know you're having lots of conversations with customers about this, but customers really get this. They really want the end-to-end experience from Microsoft. But there are other things out there that they're using as well. Like
Citrix. Yeah, because you think about the workspace, okay, the workspace that get delivered. Well, that workspace could be fully virtualized. That workspace could be fully distributed. And in many cases, it's a combination of the two. Users use native apps, they use virtualized apps, they use SaaS apps. And so that's where the partnership with Citrix really comes into play, and we can use all these things together. So let's talk a little bit about what we're doing there. Maybe Calvin, you can just give a quick overview of some of the things that we've done historically to deliver that modern workspace, and then let's go into the specifics of some of the new announcements.
Yeah, and we've worked together and partnered on these things for so long now. Going
25 years.
Yeah. Close to 3 decades.
But before both of us.
Yeah. And I think a lot of what you're doing with Microsoft 365 and sort of bringing the best of Microsoft into that is very similar to what we're doing with Citrix Cloud. Right? And we're taking our workspace, our networking, our analytics, we're building those into a cloud platform and making the best of Citrix capabilities available through that management plane and enabling that to work with on-prem, cloud, distributed and centralized kind of computing models, so that at the end of the day, it is we're supporting the way an end user wants to work, not supporting the way IT wants to deploy something.
Yeah. And at the outset, as we think about this modern workspace, is this combination of centralized and distributed. The work that our two organizations have done together is the most in-depth, the most integrated, the most simple, the most secure way to deliver that across that centralized and distributed environments. And so let's go a little bit deeper on what we're doing here. So maybe, Simon, let's talk a little bit about the Intelligent Security Graph, a little bit about what that is, and then talk about a scenario or two that Citrix is going to integrate in with.
Yeah, absolutely. If we switch across to my whiteboard here, what you see is I've drawn this big circle, and that's going to represent our Microsoft Intelligent Security Graph, ISG, we'll just do that for short. And this is actually built up of lots of different assets that we can bring together inside of the cloud. So we've got things like Bing. We've got, obviously, Azure AD. We've got Intune.
Office 365.
Yeah.
And some of the data points on this are phenomenal. Today we service 450 billion authentications a month. We scan over 400 billion emails every month. And all of that we learn from all of that work, all that comes back to us in the form of signal or telemetry that all goes into this thing called the Intelligent Security Graph, and then we learn. And that enables us to manage and enable security in a way that we've never done before. And the main point I think here for everyone to understand is, given the sophistication of the attacks that we see today, and given the sophistication of how they're built to spread, you have to be able to react very, very quickly when there's an attack or when there's a breach in the organization. Intelligent Security Graph is unique because it has this very unique perspective on what a trusted user is, what a trusted device is, what a trusted app is, and then we're able to make real-time decisions on should you allow access or not to a set of corporate content based upon what we know from the Intelligent Security Graph. And that's really the value. And so I always tell organizations and IT professionals, the Intelligent Security Graph really should be your best friend because it has your back. We talk about this point that human hands and human minds can no longer provide the management and security necessary in today's world. And Intelligent Security Graph is one of those key things that backs you and helps you to be effective as an IT professional in delivering that modern workplace that is also managed and secure. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about now Citrix and what Citrix is doing.
So for that same reason is why we've built Citrix Analytics and why we launched that earlier this year. And I think we've got a tremendous amount of additional data and data sources and information that we can
different
also
than what
plug
we
in.
have.
It's different and complementary in a lot of ways, right? So we've got information from from our content and collaboration solution. We're collecting about 1 billion events every month from that. We're collecting about 1 billion events from our mail application that also is Intune enabled and integrates with Microsoft. We have about 1 terabyte of event data that comes through our networking products. Every day through our intelligent traffic management solution, there's about 15 billion events that go through that as well from end users, right? So it's just a ton of information that is different, complementary, and we can take that and put that into Citrix Analytics, also draw some conclusions around that, use our AI engines, and send some signals into Security Graph saying, hey, we detect something a little funky here, maybe there's something that we should jointly take action on.
This is such a wonderful example. We're going to have Simon walk us through a very specific example here in a minute. But what we look for in the industry is we look for who has those unique data sets that's complementary to what we have. And it's one of these scenarios where we take the insights that we gather through the Intelligent Security Graph, we take the insights in this case that Citrix is gathering, and all of a sudden you've got a better view at, is it a trusted user, is it a trusted device, is it a trusted app? So your environment is more secure. And we can do this in a seamless way that the users are just fully empowered. Man, they can just work and just get stuff done. But in the background, all this work is happening to make sure it's being done securely. So Simon, walk us through a scenario like how we could use some of the networking capability to enhance our perspective of a trusted device. Yeah,
well, let's say we've got a device which is out there on the internet. It's connecting up to some resource through a network which is being monitored by Citrix. So our application is then essentially going to be talking to something inside of the Citrix
because in that
world.
Network world, it's Citrix is getting a view of every packet. It's getting a view of everything that's going across the network.
And we're at an application level as well. So
That's
we
right.
have application awareness about what it's doing. We also have secure web gateways that can collect information there. So
let's kind of put some names with this. Customers that are using NetScaler as an example.
Great example.
All this traffic is going through, and so they've got a very unique perspective Citrix does on what's happening at a network layer, which is different than what we have in the Intelligent Security Graph today.
Yeah, so we've got a device, and that device is talking to something inside of Citrix networking. And let's say that the device is going to then go and talk to a malicious site. Citrix networking is going to pick that up, and Citrix Analytics is going to notice that, pass that information over to the Intelligent Security Graph via Microsoft Intune, and then we can say, well, let's raise that device's risk level to a higher level. Okay, and what does it mean when we raise up to a higher level? Maybe that means that we need multi-factor authentication as well, or maybe we will just block access to that device. So in this case, the user's mail might be flowing down to the device, but what we're going to do is just step in the middle and say, nope, that's not allowed, that's going to be blocked. All because that device was talking to Citrix networking and it happened to talk to a malicious site.
And that's just one example, One of the great things about something like Citrix networking is it just has that perspective of every packet, of every communication that's happening on the network, and it can learn from that, and it can then share that learning to us via, in this case, via Intune, and it makes the whole system more intelligent, which makes the organization more secure. It's such a wonderful example.
One of the things I love about talking about collecting more and more data like this, right, is not just that it enables you to take a negative action and stop something from happening, but it can also help prevent those false positives that ruin the end user experience and make them frustrated with the environment they've got.
And I'm sure if you're like our algorithms, these are algorithms that we're tweaking 8, 9, 10 times a day, as we think about what we do here from an Azure Active Directory perspective. So you're constantly learning, you're constantly getting better at the logic here. This is a key scenario. I remember the first time we spoke about this, and so I'm looking forward to having this into the market, because conditional access, to me, is one of the most important things that every organization should have deployed. In fact, when I meet with leaders, one of the things I say is, one of the most important things for you to do is to enable conditional access, and I love the fact that Citrix is now going to make conditional access smarter.
Absolutely.
Okay, so if we would, let's go ahead, and I want to transition over to another conversation about things that we're working on. So first I want to start with this particular review. This is research, it's end user research that's done by an organization named CCS Insights. And this is actually one of my favorite reports to read every year, because what this report does is it goes out and asks end users, what do you use, what are the applications that you use on your mobile devices for work? So it's very unique data. And what I love about this is it gives me a view of what are the most commonly used applications. And I think for most organizations, for IT professionals making the decision about, hey, who am I going to standardize on for my unified endpoint management? I think this chart is an important chart to look at, because these are the most commonly used apps. And I think you want to have the depth of knowledge or the depth of capability to manage as many of these apps as you can. So let's just talk about that for a minute. First of all, if any of these apps are, say, app config enabled, they're automatically managed by Microsoft 365. But then most of these, or many of these apps, have gone the additional level and integrated the next level of EMS into it. In this case, the Intune MAM SDK, or in some cases even gone as far as taking it and done the Azure Active Directory integration. So Office, Skype, obviously. You take a look at Adobe has done the work, Box has done the work, SAP has done the work, Citrix has done the work, and that gives you the ability now to have a click down level of management of those applications on all mobile devices that just gives IT a little bit more control, but it does it in a seamless way. And so if I were to just kind of skip over and kind of do a view here and let's kind of draw some of the work that we have done. First of all, as I think about VDI scenarios, when I say VDI, I'm talking about desktop and application. There are two core scenarios that we see a lot. The first is you have, the VDI service that is running, and it is delivering down a desktop or applications down to a large screen. When I say large screen, it's predominantly a PC. We take a look at our telemetry, and you take a look at the number of devices that are using VDI, and Citrix has the same data on this. The far and away the bulk of the devices are PCs, larger than 11-inch screens. And so think about this. This could be the PC in hospitals. This could be the PC at a trader, where the entire experience is being delivered down to VDI. Nothing runs locally, and all the benefits that Citrix has delivered for 20, 25 years now, you enjoy. Okay, that's the most common scenario that we see running. We also see this scenario here where you've got a VDI service, and it is sending down an app or a desktop down to a device that is running both local apps and virtual apps. Okay, and so this could be a PC, this could be an iPad, and you have VDI streaming down. It could be a line of business application, it could be a misbehaving application, it could be an application that for security reasons you want to have it running in the cloud, but it's a mix. Okay. Now, what's unique about what Citrix has done, and as an organization is thinking about that modern workplace, because Citrix has integrated their apps into EMS, what that allows organizations to do is you basically are able to carve out a portion of a device in which those corporate applications run. You can put policy on the corporate applications, policy on the corporate data, and you can manage that in a way that protects the corporate data but also protects personal privacy, because you stay out of the user's personal life. These are the MAM controls. And so, whether it be receiver, share file, the secure email app, the browser, all that work has already been done, and that's been in market for quite a while now, but it integrates into the same management construct that we've done all the Office apps, Box is in there, Adobe as well. And that just gives that great user experience. Copy and paste, you have a set of controls. Now, Citrix recently announced a new application, kind of like the application to rule them all.
Yeah.
Okay, tell us about that.
Yeah, so we just released earlier this month the Workspace app. And this is the one place where everyone goes to get their productivity done. And really, it incorporates receiver. So a lot of the folks that have receiver today will start to see a new end user experience. But it's much more than receiver. It does the virtual apps, it does the virtual desktops, but it also embeds a secure browser as part of that. So you can go secure browse through SaaS applications and other websites, and you can apply
on-prem.
Out in the cloud or on-prem. You can also have in that environment your files and your content, right? So we've had this content collaboration solution for a while. We're actually just building that into the Workspace app. So it's just part of that interface, and it connects into OneDrive, SharePoint, local file shares, and just helps abstract the locations of things and brings those all into that experience. And so really that Workspace app now just becomes the one way to get to a bunch of different resources, a bunch of different applications, whether they're SaaS, Windows, mobile applications as well. And we're really happy to announce that we're going to be integrating that as well with Intune.
EMS and Intune, And so what that delivers is, users now can go to one place. They can go, for example, maybe it's company portal, and in that they've got all the apps that are being delivered that run locally, inclusive of the Workspace app. And so it's one place, they can launch them all, they can all be managed in a consistent way. The user has this great user experience where they can copy and paste across all those applications. But if an IT organization wants to block copy and paste into a personal app, they can block that. They can put controls on where users can save data to. And it's all about putting the guardrails in place to help guide users to keep the corporate data safe. Okay? And the beauty of what we have built here is that can run in an MDM world or in a world that does not have MDM. And what we're seeing right now is for every one device that comes in that is MDM managed, we still see 2 coming in that are MAM only. And what drives that is organizations in their BYO strategies are saying, listen, we want to be able to protect the company data, but we want to do it in a way that doesn't make the user nervous that, that we're snooping on them. And of course, that doesn't happen anyways. Yeah. But by not requiring the device to be taken over with an MDM model, just doing MAM only, it is much more it's much more acceptable to users. And so we see many organizations deploying just MAM only, but they get all the controls of being able to manage those apps. And I love the fact that you're doing this. Okay, so when can we expect to see this?
Again, next several months, maybe early sometime next year.
All right, let's transition to another thing that we're doing here together. So let's talk now about this transition. Every organization is going through a disruption. We're certainly being disrupted as we are moving all of our business to the cloud. And IT is looking at how do they move from the traditional way that they've done things, how do they add power from the cloud, and in many cases, how do they move to where they don't have to do the carrying and the feeding of the infrastructure any longer, and they allow us to do that. And so today, if we take a look at what most organizations are doing, they have got the Citrix VDI service running, and that is running in their data center. So I'm drawing a building here if anybody's trying to figure out what this is. And so it's all on-prem. And over time, what they want to do is they want to move that to a VDI service that's running in the cloud. Okay. So in this case right here, you're getting the remoting out to your PC. Here, the remoting is coming out to your PC or to your mobile device. Well, what Citrix has been working on is what they call the Citrix Cloud. And so think about the Citrix Cloud as the control plane that runs in Azure and allows you to have a consistent way to manage all of this. Now, we've learned with Office 365 as organizations have moved from Exchange to Exchange Online, we've learned as organizations are taking Config Manager and then adding Intune to that, this is a transition that takes time, and IT likes to do it in ways that it's a stepwise function, and it de-risks it. And so talk a little bit about what Citrix Cloud does to help customers move into that cloud, delivering from the cloud in a way that's simple and low risk.
Yeah, what we realized early on was that people are going to want to do this. For one, they're going to want to leverage cloud resources for these types of workloads. But that if you really just try and force someone to completely erase everything that they've done and go start over again,
no one wants to walk away
it's just not going to happen,
from their investments.
So we made a major investment in re-architecting our solutions so that they would all be cloud aware, cloud enabled, and they can plug into this cloud management plane that is Citrix Cloud. And whether you've got workloads on-prem or you have workloads that sit in Azure, you manage those through this management plane in Citrix Cloud, and it just sees it as different connections, different resource zones.
Just different pool of resource.
And pool of resource, and it's just one consistent way of managing the policies and the access. And it also allows you to support many different types of use cases as well, right? So it may be that you're migrating into Azure. It may also be that you're using Azure to extend an environment or support support an M&A activity or something like that. And so that's been a core tenet, and I think a lot of why we're seeing so much momentum with Citrix Cloud in recent quarters.
And incidentally, in your last earnings, the momentum on Citrix Cloud was very noticeable.
Tremendous.
Congratulations on that. You know, as I think about where customers are today and our desire to meet customers where they are, if you think about where the world sits at today, it's predominantly using Citrix when they do virtualization. Everybody uses Config Manager for their PC management, so you generally have those being used side by side. And we've done integration over the years where Citrix is deeply integrated with Config Manager. And now as you think about this moving into a world where more and more of it's done from the cloud, the integration we just talked about where Citrix is integrating with EMS and therefore it integrates with Microsoft 365.
Yep.
You know, if I go back to this world here again, I think about the way that we've done this for the last 20 years. Citrix was the first partner that we actually integrated Skype for Business into. And there was work there where literally it had to be Citrix aware so that a portion of the app would run in the data center and a portion would run on the device, and we pioneered that with you.
Very closely on those APIs and everything. Yep.
Exactly. And then as you move into this cloud world where you're thinking about Microsoft 365 and these cloud services, the depth of integration that we have done there, whether it's the MAM integration, whether it's the integration we've done with the micro VPN, where we can use the micro VPN from Citrix networking to punch through to the local resources, the integration that has been done with Azure Active Directory, all of that helps customers move forward into the modern world of Microsoft 365.
And that's the other big thing about Citrix Cloud for us. You mentioned the VPN capabilities, and really Citrix networking in general is all part of that Citrix Cloud platform as well. So, you know, earlier we said, you know, there's a lot of Citrix networking sitting in front of Citrix VDI. Well, you know, that now takes place in an integrated whole in the cloud, and it's much easier to integrate there. It's really just turning on services and adding those in. And so it's you know, a kind of comprehensive way to get the best of Citrix and the best of Microsoft.
And it aligns into that promise of Microsoft 365 of simplification. You know, what you just described, you're able to simplify so much what IT had to do historically on their own, you now do it in the cloud on their behalf.
Yeah.
It enables IT to get new value out faster. IT is able to do things that is more strategic. So I think that's a wonderful, wonderful thing for us to do together. So there's some new things that have been recently announced and some things you want to talk about in terms of cloud going forward and what we're doing.
Yeah, so recently we announced along with you guys on the Azure Virtual WAN that we were one of the very few partners that were there with our SD-WAN solution.
On day one.
On day one. So we actually launched with you guys, and what that means is, you know, by working with that integration that drives that simplicity, a Citrix SD-WAN solution can help connect all these different branch offices into Azure Cloud with a much more seamless onboarding capability. The configuration is much simpler, and it's just designed to work with Azure vWAN. We also recognize that as simple as this is in the cloud, getting there is not necessarily simple. So one of the things that we're announcing right here actually is there's a formation of a partner enablement capability. So we're actually going out to some of our select joint partners and enabling them with specialized cloud skills, giving them some special access to both of our resources, and making sure that these are some of the leading partners, the lighthouse guys that are going to help those customers make that move and figure out how to do it with expertise coming from both companies and supporting it. Something very unique, I think, in the industry.
Yeah.
And then the last aspect of the cloud that we're really driving is we just recently announced that we built a Citrix Cloud Gov on top of Azure Gov. And so that, you know, really opens up that solution to you know, a lot of the U.S. Government agencies and across the country, and adds that layer of security and you know, compliance that's really required in that industry.
Yeah, so I think it's really interesting about this, and you know, you give those three examples. I think the meta point for everyone to understand is the depth of the work that we do together. Like, let me just use Citrix Gov as an example. Getting the solution running in our government cloud for the U.S. government is just not, hey, I'm going to go put a stamp in this particular Azure data center. No, in order to be able to do that, you have to be able to enable non-Citrix employees to be able to operate that service. And so, I mean, I'll tell you, just putting Intune into that has been a lot of work for us to learn how to do that to where we're not operating the service. And so it is an investment in your time and energy. But I think those 3 points you just talked about, along with the other things we've talked about over the last 15 minutes, shows the depth of the partnership, and it shows the depth of the work that we do together on behalf of our joint customers. I think that's really, for me, the biggest point that I continually come back together is our two companies have learned how to work together, and we've done this for 20, 25 years now. And I'm always amazed to continue to see the joint innovation that comes out that makes IT's life easier and delivers that beautiful modern workplace for users.
Yeah, and we say it in 3 words. It's experience, security, and choice. right? And we bring those values and we work on them with you together. I think we have very similar values in terms of what we're trying to drive for the end customers. And it's a very unique relationship in the industry. And I think that is why so many of those customers trust both of us to help with their solutions.
Yeah, so that's what we've been talking about the last 15 minutes. We spent a lot of time working on details of these during the day here together. More to come, obviously. There's a lot of things that we didn't tell you that we're going to be working on that I think is unique value that's going to be coming as well. So, stay tuned. We're excited about what the future holds.
Yeah, and we'll see you on the next episode of the Endpoint Zone. We'll see you soon.